No. Welcome to the Cafe Nightly Show. I'm your host, the Goldsmith. I got some blending going on in the background. I don't know if it needs to be happening, but it is. So welcome into the Cafe Nightly Show. It is the 24th of June, 2024, and it was one of those days where Upland doesn't put a lot out, but there's still a lot to cover. First and foremost, we'll go over the sale that happened today. It was one of those things where I was a little over 500 out. It gets to the point where it drops it right in the middle of a time that's not great for me. It come back to 15 minutes later when I can get to it. It's all gone. It would have been great if it was early. It would have been great if it was a little later. When it hit, wasn't so much an option. Obviously, those things do sell out, especially after they get to the end of the line, and maybe we can go back and buy some second ones. So we did have a sellout on the map assets relatively early, as that was a UPX only sale, as there was a limited quantity of those available. And then the second thing worth noting is Nolt. The Nolt. There was a little bit of a change. Obviously, Upland went and archived all these previous notes, all these previous feedbacks, took a bunch of the feedbacks, or took all the feedbacks, and went and exported them and expedited them as they needed to, went and cataloged the information that was there. But in doing so, they archived everything. They did it all at once. And what it ended up looking like, because there was all of these, all these notes, all of these suggestions, all these feedbacks that were not looked at over a period of time, or they were still left open and not closed. They were all becoming a clutter. It was impossible to get through and sort through them. So they did go and archive and export all those feedbacks. Note is still active. It is something that they can still have new suggestions made. And oh, by the way, you can still go back and see what other people's suggestions were. They are technically archived, meaning that you can't go back and really upvote them or suggest on them or make comments in a way that Upland's going to take a look at. But those no suggestions, they are already up there. New feedbacks are open now, and we'll get into that and what that looks like and how you can go and look at archived feedbacks if you are feeling like you want to see what other people have been saying, you want to see what their suggestions were. You can get in and take a look at that, especially if you've got similar suggestions and you're trying to see what else is already in the ecosystem. So for tonight, let's kick things off easy. All views and opinions expressed by myself, they're mine and mine alone. Shouldn't be taken as game strategy or financial advice. They represent the game of the team of Upland. Guests or contributors who we do have on have their own opinions. They're welcome to them. Should not be taken as game strategy or financial advice for those who do come on and express opinions and are part of the show. And again, they don't represent the game of Upland, team of Upland, myself, the Goldsmith of the Cafe Nightly Show. So let's go and take a look at what we can look at. And we're going to take a look at Nolt because this has changed a little bit. Like I said, the archive and the way Nolt displays things, it makes it very hard to get in and see the archives. It's just because of the way they're organized, and it's not something Upland came up with, but they did archive all of the feedback all in one big mass. And then they were all archived because that was a way of them expediting and sorting through and getting through months worth of feedback that some of it was still there that hadn't been gone through and expedited all the way through. They did take the comments, the feedback that was in, and then see what should be expedited, what can be expedited. Even if something recently got posted and didn't have time to get plenty of upvotes or plenty of likes, it still had an opportunity to get into the process, to get looked at, and potentially be used to update things in Upland. And I do want to say, on the side of Nolt, people have questioned, what's the value of feedback? What's the value of putting information to the team using this method, using the feedback form? And the value ends up being there are a number of suggestions that have actually come from the community. Actually, a number of suggestions, a lot of small things, some big things. People keep making suggestions, and it doesn't mean that the team's not seeing them. Some of them are priorities that are further down the line. Sometimes it's good to know what people are looking for, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to change the focus of the company for tomorrow. And of course, there are those circumstances where there's suggestions that people make that are great suggestions, but they aren't going to work for Upland, period. Things like people wanted to entirely change the game of Upland overnight. People want to have one priority or another that doesn't work for other Uplanders. It doesn't work for the game of the team of Upland. And those are all valid suggestions. They're all open to be, made those feedbacks, so long as they're not offensive or they're not meant to spread hate or otherwise disparage people. But they just don't always work, which is why you can make a feedback and be surprised that it doesn't get acted on, because it might not have been the right idea for the right company. But let's take a quick look. Let's take a quick look at Nolt. Reminder here, this is uplandfeedback.nolt.io. This is what replaced having a feedback channel in the game of Upland, because we used to have a feedback channel in the game of Upland. While that feedback for Nolt was being updated, or I should say archived, is the reality of what happened. While they were going through and updating archiving, we did see in the Discord that some people had their feedback channel turned back on to the point where it was usable. So if I come back to my feedback channel, we could see that there is a slow mode enabled, and at a certain point, certain people would have had this channel pop up where they would have been able to post in it. And obviously, this should be a closed channel. We shouldn't be able to post anything in there. It does say slow mode, but no permissions to post. Again, that was something that it looks like it was popping up for certain people early in the day, but this is the real story. The real story is everything did get taken into consideration. Everything got looked at on the feedback side, and the feedbacks all got archived. Again, uplandfeedback.nolt.io/newest. That's where you fall. That is the main page, and newest is a misnomer, because I see newest. That's because everything has been archived. So how do I go and see all the stuff that got archived? How do I see the stuff that was posted yesterday or last week or the week before? Click on newest. Come over here. I can look at completed, or I can look at archived. Complete, ultimately. We have all of these wonderful completed suggestions. They are going ahead and seeing a bunch of suggestions here on the recent follow in the game of Upland. I can see them right here. We can come over here. I can go newest, and I can go to archive, and I can see everything that's archived, which is all those things that essentially didn't get pushed through. Completed means that they took them and assigned them to an department, or they took them and decided they weren't going to go with them. When they went in archive, they actually looked at everything and archived them all at once in a mass action all at one time. If I look back at the completed, these were things that they had gone through on a piece by piece basis, and either one way or the other escalated to one department or another, or decided that they weren't going to be able to take action on them at this time. Let's just take a look at a couple of these on the completed side, see the type of things that did get completed. Again, doesn't mean that they're immediately going to work on them. It doesn't mean that they have immediately decided they're never going to work on them. These are things that they had decided based on the comments they were going to either close the comment or push it forward before they even archived. Unfollowing someone assumes they are a him. When you click the button to unfollow someone, this refers to the player you are following as a him. I can see this as being an issue if the wrong, and I'm going to read the rest of it, if the wrong person catches wind of this, I would suggest changing. And it's just not even the wrong person. It's just the Upland had general language, whether or not Upland went and carefully put the language everywhere throughout, whether or not they used fill or template a language when they went and did those things. Yes, it's not always a him that you're following. You shouldn't need to check your pronouns in order for it not to call every single person in Upland him. So that is something that gender neutral language can be done. I think that Upland has tried to go and correct this in a couple different ways in a couple different places. And it's one of those noted and to be acted upon. Create a section or mark as resolved for Upland feedback. This is funny. Check a section over 1,500 feedbacks in Upland. To be fair, there is a portion of these feedbacks that are resolved and completed, like in-game chat is a thing among other things. It would be nice if there was a way to highlight, break out into another section or something, or simply mark as resolved. Change the status to completed a year ago. Again, a year ago. You should be able to filter by category as reviewed. This was a year ago, and then today, today, we had this archiving where there was too many Nolt feedbacks that were open, so they had to be archived and cataloged and looked at. Many of them were things that had already been addressed. Many of them were things that were, again, suggestions that may have followed or qualified as not possible for Upland, not likely for Upland, not fitting for Upland. And again, it is interesting. It is fun to see. It is fun to see all of these callbacks where you see, oh, look at that. Someone was saying there was an issue with Nolt. Oh, look at that. Here's a solution. Sparked up multi accounts. Again, this is something that there's a lot of suggestions on. Again, Upland's doing what they can on these, continuing to look at ways to protect against multi accounts. There was bot hunting as a concern, the way people were using tools to hunt. We know that has significantly changed the way treasure hunting happens in the game of Upland. Upland's talked about coming back or having solutions that are going to allow PC-based hunting again at some point in the future. But something like this, again, this is an oldie. This is years ago. 2 years ago, we do see this. This get completed 2 years ago. Jeez, wow, that's crazy. Completed by Light Up Dan 2 years ago. So it's just crazy to see some of these things that are sitting there. I can go. Is that newest on the completed side? Oh, then I'll move things around. It is crazy to see some of these things on the completed side that have been sitting there for a long time, just moving up in the completed cycle. Things that were an issue and perennially aren't an issue, or were an issue and may or may not have become an issue again. And some of them were solved for good all at once. The time buffer versus sniper bots. Again, not so much sniper bots, software people use to identify things to man and the way in which they interact with them. And again, the speed at which it's done, it does prevent people from correcting their mistakes when those happen. This is one of the most common concerns that people have in the game of Upland. People who are casuals who make the mistake, people who are, or some people who are super users, people who've been playing Upland for a long time, put hours in every day, put a decent amount in every day, who feel bad for people who fall into these traps or make a mistake and have that mistake capitalized on. But it's a perennial concern, and it will continue to be a concern. I think that there are solutions that can be made. I think there are solutions that Upland should or may make. But it doesn't matter how many times you complete a suggestion like this. The people are going to continue suggesting it until there's an ultimate solution, which I don't think there ever will be. I think short of saying you can't sell your property that low. Which again, there are plenty of circumstances where people sell their property low, intentionally on offer. Probably shouldn't list it on open market. Maybe there could be a block on open market that says, "Hey, you can't sell an open market below 50% on OPEX." But then people get mad because they'll say Upland is cost setting on USD, because Upland will do the same thing on USD. So, maybe there's not a solution to make everybody happy. But if I go back to the newest here, I'm going to go over to archived. I can see all these things that got archived. Again, this is interesting. Allow QR codes on UGC. We would open up a lot of windows of opportunities for Upland and players. Upland had a prohibition on UGC having QR codes and other types of links built into them. Part of that is for security. Upland does not want to be part and parcel to people having, a QR code that takes people to malicious sites. They don't want to be part and parcel to uncontrolled advertising or nefarious advertising. They don't want to be part and parcel to, bait and switch type advertising where people think they're going to one site and going to another, whether or not there's criminal intent, whether or not there's criminal action. Oh, there's a cheese. There's a ramen. Good to see you both. Whether or not there's criminal intent, whether or not there's criminal action, a bait and switch, sending people to sites where they don't think they're going, which is very, very common. That's one of the reasons why I know QR codes were not something that Upland wanted to have put on map assets. Scannable codes, quick, easily clickable links that people could put up on the map that don't go through an approvals process. Right now, you can, through a dev shop, linked to many, many, many sites in the world, but then you have to go through an approval process with Upland. That's a key thing is, again, Upland doesn't want their site to be used to make link bait, clickbait that ends up being nefarious or otherwise malicious to those who click on it. Nobody wants to be the vector for a bunch of Trojan horses. Property focus in L1. Now, Upland has been widely ignoring improvements that are directly property related for years, despite being the number one thing that people come to the game. People argue that. People will argue whether or not layer one properties are the reason why they come into the game. Again, this is something that was archived, was sitting around for 2 years. And it's funny. It's funny to say 2 years ago making this suggestion because we've seen more and more things come in the game of Upland since. Maybe things were a little differently at a previous point, but here's some suggestions. It could be commercial, residential, or even niche stuff that is tied to, whether in real addresses being tied to buildings, museums, skyscrapers, whatever, etc. We do have that. We have that in the limited form of landmarks. However, otherwise, we very much have a not a divorce, but we have a separation. We have a separation between what the real world is and what Upland is. And you can build a factory on this property, even if in the real world, it's not a factory. In the real world, it's a park or it's a cemetery. Maybe some people might not want to build a factory on a cemetery. Good to see you, Rodrigo. Maybe that's not where they want to build their factory, but they could if they chose to. It's a large enough property. It's low UPX per UP2. It's 12,000 UP up squares. It's 12,000 up squares. So with those 12,000 up squares, they can put the big factory, and that's what they've been wanting for years. And they can build some cars. It's incredible. It's incredible. But if you were tied directly to what the real world application of that property was, and there was some tie, that would take a lot of the meta out of the metaverse, and that would also preclude that type of behavior, the behavior of trying to find a large property and doing what you want with it. I do like it. I do like the idea of continuing to recognize what the in real life ties to property. However, occasional tags, they're great. That's a great way to tie the real world to Upland. The occasional landmarks, not very many of them. There's some. There are properties that really need to be highlighted or should be highlighted. They're going to have a specific structure that's tied to them to be built on that property. They are, their UPX per UP2 is significantly elevated generally, and if they're sold in a certain way. We've had some of them given away with low UPX per UP2 pricing. Again, Upland's done a few different things with landmarks in the last year, but ultimately, why are factories in Bermuda why are there no showrooms? That's because the Bermuda structures that they gave us, and I agree with you. Why can't we have a structure in Bermuda? We'll wait for Upland to bring it out, Rodrigo, and ask them, say, please, Upland, can I have a showroom in Bermuda? And I'm sure there should be one coming along the way. Keep in mind that they had made some custom models, and those custom models were limited by what styles they put out. And I think it's worth asking and waiting for those showrooms to put in. Because yes, I think that there is justification to have some showrooms in Bermuda, Rodrigo. And I think there definitely is room to do so if that's what people want to do. And I'm going to jump off this one, but again, this post was closed. We come back and we look at some other here that come off our archive list. Some of them older, some of them newer. I like these newest ones, and the new doesn't really work so well when you hit new because some of those are pretty old. Add note here on how to see the archive post. Here, this is interesting. They put that on here. How do you get into archives? This was fun. This was put out a day ago. I'd suggest putting a note in. Guess what? It automatically gets archived, so people can't see it. But it's an interesting point because Upland went and archived all of these suggestions because the way they were going and looking at all these suggestions. However, if I come back and I look and I read this here, I do agree. Uh, this board is not meant to be a community roadmap. Only one post per topic. Please keep feedback constructive. For support queries, please contact here. And then up above, we have the notes here. Share your feedback with Upland. All feedback is collected and reviewed by the Upland team. All messages moved to archived have been reviewed by the Upland team. To view previous messages before creating a new post, select newest below and then choose archived. Okay, newest. We do drop and you come to newest and then archive. I think that archive suggestion has kind of been addressed. Again, this structural concern of newest to archive, that is something that Nolt has built into it. That is not something that Upland set up. Upland did not go and set up their how you interact with Nolt from Upland or Upland specific Nolt. This is how Nolt itself looks and is set up. Under newest, you have to drop. It's the sort function. You go to your sort, you go to your archived, and we take a look at a couple more of these archives. It was fun that one of the archive posts was about archive posts. We'll go back to trending. We'll see these again. There's the archive post. Allow QR codes on UGC. Again, some thoughts there. And then we can go back. Introduce expiring listings. The market is flooded with sales listings already, and it keeps building up. Supply is high. This is 2 days ago. The supply is high, demand by far, and it has been for the past few years. Automatically remove listings that have been in the market for a certain period of time, e.g. 90 days. It will be easier for dynamic pricing. People have pricing on certain things to allocate and to designate one property versus another. The idea of who's allowed to list what for how long. I don't know if that's a area that Upland wants to be involved in. It is one of those interesting things where we talk about, freedom of market movement and Upland's responsibility to help maintain the market and Upland's responsibility to go and regulate the market. And Upland will tell you that it's an open economy. So the question of where and when do you say, okay, your listing's been up long enough? Could there be a rule ahead that says if you're going to list something and you don't change the price and it sits at the same market, same price for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, that you take it off? It could, but I think it's drawing that line of when can Upland tell people when to list or delist. And theoretically, if there was a 90-day listing date, I'm sure that person would be welcome to relist. I just don't see that Upland wants to always jump in and take that role and telling people what they can list their things at and what listings or what sale pricing should be left up for what period of time. The perks of accumulating real estate. Okay, let's see what this is all about. 1,000 properties, monthly rewards. Holders of 1,000 properties receive monthly bonus on UPS. Yeah. Reward large account holders. I don't, again, this is, let's see how old this one is. This is 2 days ago. So these are all new ones here. So if I go and look at these trendings, wow. There's a bunch of new ones. And you can kind of see how a lot of these are individual suggestions by individuals that may meet personal needs. Somebody who has 1,000 properties wants to see bonuses for people with 1,000 properties. Yeah. Somebody who really likes treasure hunting is going to make a suggestion about treasure hunting. Again, somebody who likes treasure hunting probably is the best person to make a suggestion about treasure hunting, but that's obviously going to be their focus. If we go back and reread the top, Upland says one post per topic, please. But what happens is everyone's making their own version of a post, and that's how you end up with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of posts, hundreds of feedbacks that may say, or half of them may say very similar things. And 15% of them may be things that Upland could never address and make the rest of the Uplanders happy, because there are suggestions for a significant change based on a specific group of people that would affect the economy of Upland for everybody, or the accessibility of Upland for everybody. Hi team, I think it's a good way to potentially mitigate the hunting / multi-accounting, because this is 4 days ago, so let's see what this is about. Multi-accounting issue would be to remove competitive hunts for players under the director status. I believe this would be a helpful, because only loyal and dedicated players will be able to access the competitive hunts under Director. Okay. Well, I have some thoughts. The standard hunts could remain available to all, so that players that have not yet reached director status can still practice. Implementing the structure could alleviate the need for city rushes and selective cities, so that we can return to all city hunting system. Eh, eh. Can I tell you a secret? It is so easy for people who are violators, who are directly interested in violating the sacrosanct. Yeah, sure, the sacrosanct institution of treasure hunting. It is very easy for them to violate, or probably easier for them if you're saying the multi-accounters and this and that. Really, it's very easy for them to violate account statuses. It was a common thing. Ha ha ha! Block Explorer multis. They were spooling up accounts, making them directors. They became directors based on inflated properties in some cases, and if they turned around quick enough before Upland could swat them down, get them in Alcatraz. Some of them ended up with a lot of director block explorers, which is why the market for director block explorers is less lucrative than the market for block explorers of much higher circulation. It doesn't matter it's a one of one. There's a stigma around director block explorers, even though there's only one goat with a crutch that is limping around. There's only one of them in the entire game of Upland. That goat with a crutch that's limping around is also the guy who made a goat that was smoking a cigar, and a goat that was riding a bicycle, and a goat that was rolling down the hill. He just spun up account and transferred over a million UPX property over to that customer, to that fake account. I'm gonna call him a customer because he's got an account, right? But it's a fake account, obviously. It's a multi-account. And we just push it over there. And oh my God, this guy's a director now. Congratulations. Welcome to being a director in Upland. Oh, you want a goat that is sailing a boat? Okay, you can have a goat that's sailing a boat. So though the thought is there, Aquarian Goddess, this is a small hurdle for people who are intentionally violating the game of Upland, that is one of their goals, and that's something they want to do. But the other part of it is when I see treasure hunting and when I hear about treasure hunting, some of the best stories I've ever heard about treasure hunting is people who statused up, not by playing the game for 10 months, but by treasure hunting for 3. People who statused up not by putting another $50 into the game, but statused up by doing some activity in the game like treasure hunting or flipping properties. And treasure hunting is probably more lucrative for some, those who have the skills to pay the bills, probably more lucrative for some on the competitive treasure hunting side than it is for people than it is now for most people who are just actively flipping properties without a huge account balance. And understandably, it is a skill that there are some people who violate. They multi-account so they can violate those competitive hunts. They get a treasure when they're on cooldown. They go into another account and get another treasure. I get that. I get that people have used hunting tools that are again against the TOS, but they've used them to manipulate the hunting system to try to win. I get that. But this again, I don't want to discourage new players in Upland from getting involved in Upland. I get the idea that the intention is not to discourage new players from hunting, it's to weed out multi-accounts. But I think ultimately something like this is going to discourage people who are hunting competitively as real accounts in order to stop some multis, when those multis, the same multis that you're trying to stop from treasure hunting in the pro status, before they have 1 million UPX value, you're trying to stop them from hunting. They're going to just cheat. If they're already cheaters, they're going to cheat. Cheaters are going to cheat, and that's how it is. And they're going to account status up to director, and they're going to go cheat up there. And that poor pro, my friend the pro, who really wants to get to director by treasure hunting. There are people who've made a good percentage of their net worth through treasure hunting. Again, it's a small percentage of players, but for the people who put the time and the work and the effort in, they try and they succeed because they have a set of skills, or they build a set of skills. I don't want to stop them just because I don't want to stop them to stop a cheater who's going to cheat and work around your concern as well, or your solution. And I think that's one of the reasons why, just because a idea is good, and this is not a bad idea, just because an idea is good, it doesn't mean that Upland can implement them all, because a lot of those ideas are things that, when you look on a second layer, or you think about the realities of the actual ecosystem of what people are doing, or the actual facilities, or what Upland can do to limit people from doing certain things. Those sometimes get in the way of great ideas. Make it so that even though it's a good idea, it may not actually be able to be implemented by Upland now, or it may not work within the Upland ecosystem at all, unfortunately. And I'll just put a couple more things here on the note. I do consider the feedback people give to the team as being very valuable. There's still room and opportunity to go and make those suggestions, to put those out. They're all getting archived. That's limiting people from double putting things in. It's limiting people from some of the commenting back and forth on these. I do think that Nolt may be limited in the future. Upland is doing new communications methods. Upland is updating actively the feedback in the game of Upland. Upland is adding channels to in-game chat. Upland is looking for ways to more directly build their communication inside the game of Upland, and it makes a big difference. I'm getting close to 26 spark thanks to treasure hunting. Rodrigo, there you go. And Rodrigo at one point was a pro. And Rodrigo, I believe, if I remember this correctly, and I'm pretty sure I do, was a treasure hunting when he was a pro. There's a lot of people who were. So congratulations, Rodrigo, on your 26 spark that came from treasure hunting. I don't have that many spark. I can tell you that right now. Otherwise, what I'm looking at, when I look at the suggestions in the continued output is, there are better ways to manage it. And if Upland's building an internal channel, there may be better ways for Upland to set this up in a way that works well for them. Again, if you read these notes up here, you can see that the first person to drop in here and doesn't want to read, not everybody wants to read, but doesn't want to read, creating a new post, select newest below, then choose archived. Okay. Again, to view previous messages before creating a post, go and look at archive. So go down to trend and go down to archives, and then we can go look at all these other suggestions people made. So people who don't want to read that much, maybe Upland has a better way of listing this rather than having to work with the way Nolt is set up at this point. Here's a great suggestion. And before I move on, great suggestion. I live in Turkey. I'd love to add the Turkish language to Upland. There's a lot of languages in the world. And again, adding more and more languages is something that Upland's talked about. Upland's added a few. We are in a day and age of the 21st century with AI, and then more and more better AI tools are coming out. Things like translations apps, things like plugins that people use for web browsers to do auto translate. How much Upland can actually can invest into human translators, or build an entirely different set of language standards where all of the announcements are in 7 different languages. Just these people, and now it's up to 15, and then from 15 to 26. How much resources they can invest in doing something like that is probably limited. But at some point, there's going to be, and I think there already is, many tools people could use in the game of Upland to better interact with announcements, even though we know there's some nuance, some cultural nuance, which is why Upland has done and worked with some translators to put language out, or put materials out in different languages, specifically Brazilian Portuguese. When we did go into Brazil, again, Upland has a strong presence in Brazil. It does make sense that they want to have Brazilian Portuguese. There's Spanish language. I believe there was translations into there's some efforts in the translations of Japanese. There's a couple different languages where Upland continues to try to build those announcements into ones that specifically, culturally or linguistically, it makes more sense to have a translator as opposed to rely on AI translating tools. So it is something that we hopefully will continue to see Upland tackle and get better with. And then taking a look over here, let's take a look back. Where was our announcement today? I guess we didn't get one and push it through. We did have the sale today in the game of Upland. Let's get back to Upland so I can go and see it. Sale today of the map assets that did sell out relatively quickly. Like I said, I mean, we did see that there was 450 of the bundles. There was more than that for reservations, or more than that for people who had gotten in line. Of those who had gotten in line, some people got more than one. I got 0. It is a reality. Like I said, if I had had an opportunity to purchase in the first 20 minutes, I definitely would have. I didn't. So when I finally did get a chance to purchase, I was outside of the time I was available, and then I quickly got available after I had a short period of being unavailable, and by then they were all sold out. 0 available. Woe is Goldie. It is all loss. No opportunity to buy in OPEX. And again, it's a little bit sad. It's a little bit sad because there's so few opportunities to use my OPEX, except for minting properties. I'd love to see more of these sales. I did give Upland kudos for having this sale in OPEX. And I like the idea that you get some gold assets for Goldie. I was pretty happy. You had the blue assets and you had the gold assets. The gold assets were specifically for Goldie. He wanted to have all of those gold assets. Yeah, no such luck. No such luck. But that's the way it works. You go and everyone draws a number, draws a lot. They get a place in order. Goldie always gets towards the end, and then everybody else gets to buy, first, second, third, first couple minutes for 10, 15 minutes. And then some people like myself are further down the list. It just always happens that way. But I'd love to see more and more of these sales. Like I said, I do think that there is a place for these USD sales. Look at these USD sales for these power-ups that are still sitting around. Boy, did those UPEX sides sell out relatively quickly. But these USD sides, look at them, hanging out. 268 of 500 are still available of the power-up bundles. And then other car bundles. Look at those car bundles. 154 of 200 are still left. Without getting into too many details, I think Upland had an opportunity to price these differently in the USD side. They could have priced them in UPEX side. They would have sold better. Again, depending on where they set that price. And, people did look at the value based on the value of the 3 cars that are there, the 1R, the 1E, and the 1. They looked at the percentage of those cars that was going to be 1s, 1Es, and 1Rs. And they looked at the price here of $280 USD. And I think a lot of people looked at that and they assumed, I've got a 1 in 10 chance of getting this. This is the value I'm going to get out of this more than likely. And it just didn't make sense for them. So they're still sitting around here, 154 of 200 available at $280 a piece sitting here. And then look at that, the Genesis Season Pass. We do have the opportunity to purchase that today, burn that, and then every Tuesday for the rest of the season, for the rest of Genesis season until the 15th of July, you will have a drop. That drop will be for your cosmetics. If you had burnt earlier in the month, obviously you would have had more of these drops. But we do have the drop tomorrow for Genesis pass holders. Those who burnt it already, they get a drop tomorrow, whether they got 2 or 3 other drops earlier in the month, or they got 0 drops so far. They just burnt it today. So I always recommend people burning them early in the month. That just makes sense. Take advantage of all the weeks. Don't wait later in the month and get advantage of 2 or 3 or 4 drops instead of all 6 or 7. And it's definitely something to keep in mind. Look at all these USDs still here for the property ornaments. Again, structural ornaments, they did almost sell out. Some of these more may sell out here before the end of the month. And then these Ethereums are still sitting there. But it is always nice to see a UPX sale, and they don't last. They don't last when they're here. Of course, taking a quick look at that, I realized I wasn't sharing my screen. That's all on me. But of course, we look at that. We look at this. UPX sale, sold out. USD available, USD available, USD available. Again, it's about making money, but it's also about price setting. So if the USD price was lower here, this is Ethereum. The Ethereum price was lower here, Would it have been sold out? Possibly. If the price was lower here in USD, would it be sold out? Possibly. If it was an UPX at a 1,000 to 1 ratio, would it be sold out? 100%. 100%. Would this be sold out as 10,000 UPX if those additional ones were 10,000 UPX instead of $10 a piece? 100%. The ones that were 10,000 UPX sold out. These ones here that are in 10 USD, they sold about 50%. Again, should it have been set at $5 or $6.50? If they had done it $5 or $6.50, would more have sold? Definitely possible. We don't know for sure. Again, Upland setting the price and will continue to do so. Sold out for UPX? Yes, of course. Sold out for UPX. If it was UPX, these would be sold out as well. But of course, on the UPX side, we did see those sell out very, very quickly, and they will continue to do so. And with that, looking at the Genesis map assets, we are still in Genesis season. We had the sweetener sale earlier in the month, and you end up with some burns that you sometimes have with those. And then you end up at this point where you had the map asset sale, and the map asset sale happens. And oh my gosh, we had a Genesis City that already minted. The Genesis City, obviously for this year was not a city. It was Bermuda. Bermuda is technically not a city. And then what else? Oh yeah, that's right. It wasn't really an opening because part of it was open already. Not a big deal. Bermuda is okay. It's nice as it is. But will we have another release this month or this season, which ends on July 15th? That's a question. And it continues to be a question. We know that Paris is coming. We know there's a reason for Paris to drop before the Olympics because excitement around Paris for Olympics. If you release Paris before the Olympics, you can kind of use that to leverage some excitement around the Olympics and some excitement in Upland for challenges or whatever we want to do around the Olympics, which we have done in the past. You don't need an official sponsorship. You don't need an official partnership to do certain things that kind of, maybe sort of talk about sports. They talk about sports at a time when the world's thinking about sports. Kind of interesting. It's very topical to talk about sports during the summer when the Olympic Games are going on. That's what they did last Olympics. So maybe, just maybe, it's something Upland wants to do again. And if they do, it makes sense if Paris came out before the end of July, the last couple weeks of July, which is the start of the Olympics. Again, we'll see how Upland ends up deciding to move forward on this and how that's going to continue to happen. But otherwise, we'll keep our eyes out for the rest of July. We know that we got some pushes forward here from Upland the last couple of weeks or last week, I should say, where they did a lot of things they were talking about doing. They gave us more information, and they're actively doing it this week with a transition from Spark to Sparklet. That is a focus of the development team, where this rollout has to go smoothly, or they're going to do everything they can to make it smooth, and they have to have people available to, be working on this transition as it happens live. That's tomorrow into the 27th. We know that there's going to be a maintenance period. There's going to be a 4 to 6 hour direct maintenance period where we're not going to have Upland for a few hours. That's tomorrow the 25th. Keep your eyes on that. If you want to go ahead and do your login for the day, you may want to do it as early as possible, or you may still have the opportunity to do it later in the day, depending on where you are in the world. If that 4 to 6 hour period is going to potentially, after 9 a.m. PT, a 4 to 6 hour period would prevent you from getting an access to Upland for the day, I'd recommend trying to do it before 9 a.m. PT tomorrow, just to be careful, be safe, and try to make sure you get your check-in in if that's going to be something you're worried about having the time or finding the time to do. It's also important to keep in mind that because there's going to be a decent amount of effort here, we may or may not see anything else major for news over the next couple of days. And that's okay. I'd like it to be quiet. Quiet means that the whole process is kind of working and didn't blow up. If it blows up and, somebody accidentally gets way more Sparklet than they were supposed to, or somebody gets a lot less Sparklet than they're supposed to, and they're trying to figure out how do they get the rest of the Sparklet, that won't be quiet. That'll be loud. There'll be upset people. There'll be discussions. And then Upland will fix it, but there'll still be upset people. So I'd love it to be quiet for the next couple of days. And if that's the case, I have a very important interview to put out. I maybe do that tomorrow, and what we may be doing, pending things going smooth tomorrow, pending not having a lot to talk about in regards to Spark to Sparklet, assuming Upland doesn't put any major make sure you pay attention to Miles B. Chain activity feeds status. I will do that. X1. Pending no big surprises tomorrow, and maybe X1 just hinted, and this is in the comments, maybe X1 just hinted. Here we go. Look at this. I forgot this is so easy. Boom. Maybe X1 just hinted that there is something to watch out for. But pending no big surprises in here tomorrow. A lot of stuff dropped there today. Well, let's go take a look. Thank you for pointing that out, X1. But in lieu of going and having a lot of surprises tomorrow, I am looking forward to putting out an interview maybe tomorrow. Maybe do a live watch as opposed to just throwing it up on YouTube. We had an interview today with Math from Block Raiders. It is something that we've been waiting on for years. No, we've been waiting for a year for Block Raiders to come out. It was a winner of the 2023 hackathon. It was a great project. It is a great project. It's just one that's been developing all this time. And talking to Math, there was a lot of discussion about, what do we do? How do we decide when to come out? Why did you not push this out, MVP? Why did there you go. Why did we push this out for MVP? Why did we not push this out earlier? There's a lot of those questions, and there's a lot of answers. And I really like the fact that the focus is on trying to, build this project out and bring in alpha testers and use those alpha testers to grow the project so that they can improve the project and put out a product that there's going to be very, very many people who are interested in, not just a small number of people, and a lot of replayability, and a lot of people continuing to keep their eyes on the game for a long period of time. I'm looking forward to that. Let's go take a look at Miles B. Chain because, X1 said so. Let's go take a look. Here we go, on over here in my feed. What did you say, Miles B. Chain? Over here and following. I knew about this. Come on. We saw this pop up earlier today, but let's take a look. But yes, we did not discuss it. Let's do it. New 24-hour flash challenge starts here. And again, this is a different way of putting out the flash challenge. We didn't see it over in Discord in the same way. I did see it as a pop-up earlier today. 24-hour flash challenge starts now. Complete your daily check-in for today in the next 23 hours and 59 minutes. Or until 5 p.m. PT on the 25th. That is tomorrow. For your chance to win a limited Llama Block Explorer. There are 25 of those available total. I know I had seen that in an announcement earlier today. But I didn't see the rest of the note here about the 25. The pop-up that I got earlier today was more detailed than this. But yes, there was 25 of those Block Explorers, according to the pop-up in game today, that are going to be coming up. Miles B. Chain, thank you for the reminder there for how important that is there. And then let's take a look at something else here. Keep me informed about all community-run events via in-game DMs at least 24 hours in advance, and I'll post about them. Well, look at that. Look at that. DM Miles B. Chain. 24 hours in advance. You have a community event you want to put out there, and Miles B. Chain can repost the community events. It's incredible. This is something that we've talked about. How do we push out to the community, the greater community in Upland, what's going on? How do we get a larger scope and a larger view? We know that not everybody uses Discord. We know that if you have a tweet go out 20 minutes before an event happens, there's only so many people who can get in there and see it. But if you have the power of Miles, you can put this out to everybody in the game of Upland, because as we said, Miles B. Chain, he happens to be the Elon of Upland. Everyone has to follow him. It's not easy to unfollow. You automatically have to follow him by being part of the service. But sometimes there's some good stuff there, at least with Miles B. Chain. For example, there was a community-run yoga event for all at City Center Plaza this weekend. Events like this are perfect for me to attend and promote. That's great. If you have something you want to do in a public space in Upland or as your community group that are open for people to attend or to be part of, especially in layer one, especially as we get more and more spaces in layer one with cafes and other growth opportunities, layer one access, or even layer two tied in dev shops, and you want to promote them, maybe Miles B Chains promotes your layer two open tournament that anyone can go and participate in, where there's prizes in your layer two game, whatever that layer two game is. So that's very cool. Let's go look at this. So there's that announcement. We saw that one earlier. Well, let's see if there's something else here in my following. Just a repost. More repost. Oh, here's another one. Congratulations to the winners of today's Flash Challenge. Each will receive 25,000 UPIX within the next 24 hours. Stay sharp. You never know when another opportunity might flash before your eyes. Again, keep your eyes on Miles. In-game communication is a quicker way for people to see things than having to go and read announcements once a day. It is a place where if you keep your eye on your feed, you may find information that you would otherwise not know. And that's because it's only there in some cases. Why, look at that. Look at those winners. Congratulations, winners. And what else do we have from Miles? I don't know. This is just Upland Bureau. Start of construction. 5 square. George Parish. Let's go take a look. It's a city hall building. Why, look at that. Look at the power of the feet. Just look at it. Upland Bureau building, constructing, making it fast. The city center in Bermuda, that's where you're going to be able to go and apply for your handy dandy men adventures in Bermuda. Look at that. And that is, at this point, let's go look at that structure, the construction, sorry. We'll go take a look. Oh, really? Is the city hall? That's funny. Look at this. There it is. There you go. That's fun. All right. Get that out of the way. And there we go. So we see 8 days and 14 hours. We see that there's a ton of spark that's there, 22 sparks staked. And of course, 8 days, 14 hours. We will see that get completed here. So looking forward to that be the case. Again, this was posted a week ago. It did get reposted recently because there was a recent repost. It pops up in my feed. They started this about a week ago, and it will be done in just over a week. Look at that. Power of the feed. I tune in most nights, just lurking. Love the show. Well, hey, there you go. Thank you, X1. I know you sometimes listen recorded, whatever the case is. It's good to have you, and thank you for the reminder. It is always a good opportunity. Thank you for that, for the reminder that there's always a good opportunity to follow Miles B. Chain, as we all do, as we all have to, as we all started doing by default, just to see what's going on there for announcements. And of course, that's a nice new way of doing Flash challenges. The old way, you'd come over here, you go look, there was a Flash challenge, and it's not here anymore. But there was a Flash challenge channel. You go in there and see what had popped up on a weekly basis, on a daily basis sometimes. But again, we now know that we have more and more of that in game. And I go and look at the live updates, and we see that we have that weekly update, but we don't have anything about the contests that happen as a Flash contest in Layer 1. That's because that communication is happening primarily in Layer 1. Very easy to follow. And Miles B posted. Yeah, Miles B reposted. So it is nice to see that stuff get pushed through and continue to be there. And we do see that there's a lot of other opportunities for Upland to continue. I'm going to get this out of the way. There are a lot of other reasons for Upland to continue to use other social media that we continue to see. Get this close. We continue to see Upland push things out in Twitter because that's a way to be discovered by people who aren't currently playing Upland. But it is beautiful that we have a place in Upland to speak directly to Uplanders, and Miles B. Chain, the mascot of the game, uses that effectively. So for tonight, I think I talked a lot longer than I meant to on a limited news day. Tonight, just remember, tomorrow is going to be a special day. It is a conversion day for Spark into Sparklet. It is going to be the start of a up to 3-day process. Keep that in mind. 25th, 26th, 27th. There may be some interruptions in what you can do with your Spark and how you can do it. Know that at the end, we will have the gift, the present of Sparklet, which is paving the way, which is preparing us for Sparklet being listed on exchanges, for the opportunity for Sparklet to be more, to mean more, to be used in different ways, to be part of the layer 2 ecosystem, to part and parcel of, commerce in the layer 2 ecosystem. So it is a great thing that we're getting Sparklet. It is unfortunate. It takes 3 days to get it figured out. But again, that's what I would expect. Maybe it's something that is inconvenient for a lot of people. At the end, it's going to be well worth it. So for tonight, be ready for the next couple of days. Do your logins as you can, when you can, tonight, tomorrow morning, and into the following day. And of course, logging in daily is part of the game. Don't miss it. Don't miss it just because of a few hour interruption in the game of Upland. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. And of course, look out for tomorrow. I think I'll get that math interview out, just so long as nobody surprises me. Maybe we'll do a live watch along. It's about an hour. If there's no news, it's a good opportunity to be in the comments and jump back and forth. And I don't know, maybe I can jump in and comment over it. We'll see. We'll see if I end up doing anything crazy like that. But for tonight, thank you for being here. Looking forward to tomorrow, as always, Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. PT. Join us here in Discord. Yeah, why not? In Discord Cafe, on YouTube, on Twitter. Thank you so much for being here. See you again tomorrow night. And of course, if you're in the Upland Discord, feel free to unmute your mic. The floor is yours. And good night, Rodrigo. See you, little Mark. Howdy.